Welcome to the Y Connect podcast. As the heartbeat of the community, the Y is a connector where people of all ages and walks of life come together to elevate their health, wellness, education, and essential life skills. Hear the stories of impact and join the authentic conversations where together we'll discover the journeys and pathways people take to connect through the Y. Now your hosts, Zarina, Robert, and Allison.
Hey everyone, welcome to another episode of Y Connect. Good to see you, Robert. Hi, Zarina.
Good morning, good morning.
Hello, good morning.
We have a really exciting episode in store. One of the long-ranging goals that the Y has had through its strategic plan is by 2025, we say we want to reach outside the walls of the Y to bring education and resources and services to communities in need. And there is a program at the Y that has been doing this for a very long time. They're quite a leader in this space, and it's called the East Lake Healthy Connections Program. And so we're going to be interviewing two individuals that lead that program, but also the new president and CEO of the East Lake Foundation, because East Lake Foundation is the community quarterback for this work. So if you will let me introduce and provide proper accolades for our guests, I'll start with Illy Askia. She's the new president and CEO of the East Lake Foundation. She joined in September. Prior to joining the East Lake Foundation, she led Gideon's Promise, a nonprofit that transforms the criminal justice system by building a movement of public defenders who provide equal justice for marginalized communities. She holds a bachelor's degree from Cornell University in City, Urban, Community, and Regional Planning, and a master's degree in elementary education and teaching from Trinity Washington University. She has a background in teaching. She was a fellow at Teach for America, and she also worked in Georgia with the charter school movement and taught in Fulton County schools. Joining Illy is Deidre Ridges. She is the program director of the East Lake Healthy Connections program. She works closely with the Healthy Connections team and community partners to ensure all eligible East Lake community members have access to health insurance, primary and preventative healthcare services to properly manage chronic disease. Deidre started her journey with the Y in 2019. She's a native Atlantan, and she holds a Bachelor of Science in Social Work from Alabama A&M University and a Master's of Social Work from the University of Southern California. In 2022, Deidre became a licensed Master Social Worker in the state of Georgia. So welcome, Illy and Deidre.
Yes.
And Vivian Moore. Hello, Vivian. She is a longtime community champion health advocate. It's so good that you're here with us. She has a deep and extensive background in community engagement. In the 1990s, Vivian worked for TAP, the Atlanta Project, a project led by President Jimmy Carter, focused on rebuilding Atlanta's under-resourced communities. Vivian holds numerous leadership roles in a variety of organizations, including the DeKalb County Planning Commission, DeKalb Juvenile Justice, Georgia's NAACP, and she's a founding member of the DeKalb County Women's Resource Center. Vivian holds a degree from Atlanta Metropolitan College and certification in social work from Tennessee State University. She is a mother, a foster mother, and a grandmother. Welcome, everyone.
Welcome.
Thank you. Welcome.
Oh, I'm going to go ahead and kick it off with a question for Miss Illy. As the new president and CEO of the East Lake Foundation, would you mind sharing a brief historical overview of the East Lake community and how the revitalization has evolved since it began in the early 90s?
Sure. So thank you. First of all, thank you for having me. I'm very honored to be here and also sitting with Deidre and Miss Vivian. So the East Lake Foundation serves as the East Lake community's community quarterback. So in the 90s, right, actually it started in the early 80s first. The East Lake community, which then had a public housing, was a public housing community called East Lake Meadows. And East Lake Meadows, people called the Meadows, at that time in the late 80s and early 90s, had the crime rate was 18 times the national average. The graduation rate of our children in that community was only at 30%. 30% of the children coming in from that community were graduating from high school. East Lake Meadows and the surrounding community was a community that was neglected in Atlanta. The purpose of the community was to be a first start, a fresh start for families who fell below the poverty line. But it was a community that had been neglected. There were no resources. The education was extremely poor and abysmal, and people were just lost. People were neglected in our beloved city. And so in 1995, a real estate developer and philanthropist, Tom Cousins, a woman by the name who was the president of the East Lake Meadows Tenant Association, Miss Eva Davis, and the president of the Atlanta Housing Authority at the time, Renee Glover, got together. They became the architects of holistic community revitalization. So in the 90s, the East Lake Foundation was created to serve as the quarterback with these architects designing the way of how to improve and make this community a thriving, holistic community, and giving resources and opportunities to the people who live there. And so now, fast forward, how we do this work and continue to do this work. Now we are in our 27th year. We have 3 pillars that we rely on to make sure we remain an excellent community. Mixed income housing is our number one focus. Actually, all of these are our focus. Mixed income housing, cradle to college and career, cradle to college education, and community wellness, which we're going to talk about today. And what the architects, Mr. Cousins, Ms. Davis, and Ms. Glover thought was that if you had those 3 components in the community and they served as your focus, you will once again have a thriving community. And now we can say that our crime rate is significantly down. Even with the current climate in the country, our children are at 100% graduation rate. And not only just that, 100% of them have been accepted to college every year. And so we graduated our first class in 2017, I believe. So, I just got here, but I'm pretty sure it's 2017. And so what I say, the model works. Oh, thank you, Ms. Vivian, because Ms. Vivian been here. She'll tell you about it. So the model works. And what has happened with the East Lake Foundation model, birthed out was a sister organization called Purpose Built Communities, who's now taken this model, the East Lake model, the East Lake way, all across the country. And now 29 communities across the country are following or mirroring the East Lake model.
Yes.
Wow.
Oh my goodness.
Absolutely impressive. Absolutely impressive. I have to salute you for the work that you do, Illy. That's incredible. That's incredible.
I can't take all the credit, sir. I have these people who came before me to lay it away. I would love to. I'm standing on the shoulders of greatness, standing on the shoulders of greatness.
I love the humility. I love the humility. I have had the privilege for the last year or so to witness the work that Deidre and Ms. Vivian do, being that we were in the same building at the East Lake YMCA. And having that privilege, having that honor of assisting when I can, when I've been asked to, but just kind of just sit back and just marvel at their intentional work, their purposeful work that they do in the community is absolutely outstanding. Deidre, please tell us, what is the Healthy Connections program and why was it started?
Okay, so Ellie shared a lot of information and she hit on wellness, and that is where Healthy Connections was created. In 2014, the East Lake Foundation received a 3-year grant to focus strictly on the wellness in the community. And with that, a team of 4 were created with Healthy Connections, and Mosaic was used to facilitate a health scan in the community. And the overall purpose were to see how we could provide preventive screenings in the community. How can we tackle the emergency visits that the residents were taking, those who were uninsured? How can we connect them to medical homes? How can we put health services in the community so that they don't have to travel outside of their own community to receive the resources that they need here? So with Healthy Connections, we're able to connect them to a medical home. visits with them as well, house doctor visits with the seniors, with the families. Make sure the kids are connected to health insurance. Follow up with the parents. So we are the bridge between the villages of East Lake and outside communities around East Lake as well. We also work with Drew Charter very closely with parents that may reside in the villages or outside of the community also. So we also notice there are things that cause these health issues within a community. We're dealing with diabetes, we're dealing with hypertension. We have grandparents that are raising grandchildren. So we had to identify what are the things that are actually leading to these health issues. And a lot of it is stress. Stress management is a very big thing in our community, and especially amongst the African American community. So we work with parents to connect them with resources that could eliminate the high stress levels within their family and their households. And that's pretty much it, how we started, and a brief description of the work that we do amongst Healthy Connection.
And Deidre, can you tell us about some of the resources that you provide? Some of the partnerships that you developed?
Of course. One of our most popular partnerships is the Kaiser Bridge program. With that, we're able to connect residents with health insurance that covers all of their medical needs there. That eliminates the stress of medical bills, not wanting to go to the doctor because you're afraid of that high medical bill that you may receive. You're able to add your children if they're not connected to Medicaid there. And if they are eligible for Medicaid, we are here to assist with getting the children connected to Medicaid. Also, food insecurity. We host a food distribution every Thursday here at East Lake YMCA to provide free food items for our community members. In addition to that, we partner with DJJ, which is a partnership Miss Vivian connected us with. We assist them with food as well. We do coat drives for them also. And we also partner with Open Hand Atlanta, where we provide chronic disease self-management program during, 2020. It was virtual for those who may be suffering with chronic disease. And as we begin to open up more, we now host that face-to-face. So that's a 6-week program, a very small, intimate class where they're able to manage any chronic disease that they may be dealing with as well.
Very extensive. Very extensive. And talk about really leveraging partnerships. So I have to ask you, Vivian, I read your bio and you've been engaged in this kind of work for a very long time. But I would love to hear from your lens, your perspective. Describe the day-to-day and why you got involved with Healthy Connections.
Well, Healthy Connection was a given to me because I knew this neighborhood. I only live about 2 miles from East Lake myself, and I've lived out here in DeKalb County now since 1984. So part of my, going around and learning the community was to go into East Lake Meadows because I was a parent involvement coordinator for Head Start. And I remember going in and they really trying to get our children enrolled in Head Start was difficult because I had to go through folks that were gambling on the sidewalk. Sometimes there may have been a little gang going on, but I just knew that through it all, we would be successful in getting involved to make this community better than what it was. And so first thing you have to do is understand the history. And the history for me began many, many years ago when they called it Little Vietnam. To me, that meant that we were at war. And if we're at war, we got to make sure that we're the winners, that we don't lose this war. And I think that we have been doing really, really well. I like building relationships. And when you build that relationship, you will build trust. And I know that the trust that has been invested in Healthy Connection is working. I've been here since the beginning, and I know that from what we have done, it has been very successful in getting us all started in a new life for East Lake Meadows and now the village, because the village is just what it is. Everyone teach one, everyone reach one.
Absolutely.
And that's how I started my journey.
Thank you so much, Vivian. I'm in awe.
You're welcome.
I've actually been one of your biggest, Deidre's probably the president of your fan club, but maybe I could be like the secretary because you have just, every time I'm at East Lake, so I was at East Lake in late October, you all were hosting an event for active older adults. And it was breast cancer survivors that were there. And you had music,
Wow.
and the participants had made blankets. Tell us a little bit about that kind of work. So meaningful.
Well, as you heard earlier from Deidre and from others, the fact that we try to make sure that we connect our community to all of the health related facilities and all of the needs that are out there. Believe it or not, several of our members of our what we call our A.O.A, which is active older adults, there are our seniors that are members here that are organized, and some of them are breast cancer survivors. So it was just something that I knew we had to do to show our support, our love, and to make sure that they understood that we care, and we want to make sure that we educate others on getting, help with their health needs, especially with breast cancer, because one of the things that we know for a fact is that our Black women are ones that get the breast cancer, and we get it really worse than some of the others. And so I was able to make sure that I talked with the A.O.A, our active older adults, and find out what they thought we should do. And one of the things that came up is maybe we can give them some scarves, and maybe we can give them a hat. But I said, maybe we can create it and make it ourselves. So with
Wow.
the resources that we have, we bought sewing machines. We got all the material together, and they set up and made it. It took them a few weeks, but they got it all together, and it was just such a beautiful thing to do for our community. Then we took everything down to Grady, and we were able to give them to breast cancer patients that are currently dealing with breast cancer now. It was just a
Amazing.
joyful time to see. So, and we currently do other things now with our with the A.O.A. That community now, they monitor people when they come to YMCA for hypertension. I said, I'm not going to do it. You guys got to get out here and help. And they willingly do that. So
Yeah.
that's just some of the things that we do here.
Empowerment.
Oh my goodness.
Truly.
Well, with such great work being done, I want to know, Deidre, what are some of the most rewarding aspects of this work?
Oh man, I always say you have to love what you do, and I absolutely love, love, love what I do. I've worked with different populations, from young adults in the juvenile system. I've worked with mental health, and I always felt like I was restricted in a little bubble because you get so connected with the families, and you realize there's so much other support that is needed. But once I came across the job description here at the YMCA, I figured it was right on time, like God work in mysterious ways, because I had just started a fitness group just for my friends, because I was losing so many classmates from high school from heart disease, strokes, and things like that. So we started a small fitness group. And then I saw this job and I stayed motivated. I applied for it. I received it. But once I became a part of the Healthy Connections team, I noticed that it wasn't just about health. You guys, when I joined here, I was considered the little girl, the youngest one on the
Yes.
team. Who is this new face?
She's growing up.
How is this little girl going to help us? But when I tell you guys, that turned around completely. We're like family. Everyone is family here. The people that we serve, we get to actually know them on a personal level. So if there's anything going on in their home, we know. If there's a difference in their behavior, we know. A lot of times if they're going through things and they don't feel comfortable speaking with someone else, it just feels good that they trust us to come to us to speak with us, and we're able to assist them. But I say that to say that I don't feel like I'm in this small little bubble. I'm able to go above and beyond to assist families. And then I have Miss Vivian. She's so great. We're night and day. She's that talkative one. She's not going to meet a stranger. And I'm more so I'm observant, but we both have the same passion. We love what we do. And I just love the fact that we're able to serve amongst and get to know those on a personal level.
Yes.
Absolutely love it.
And along with
Absolutely.
that, I'm wondering, Deidre, how do you create work-life balance? Giving so much of yourself, how do you create that balance?
I would say with with Rob chasing behind me in the morning saying, "Hey, you got to But no, working out is my that's my stress reliever. Because with work,
That's
outside
good.
of work, I also have my family. Ms. Vivian would tell you I care for my grandmother, my mom, my nephew who's special need as well. So working out is my work-life balance. Like that hour and a half is my hour and a half, whether I go at 5:30 in the morning before work or if I take time afterwards. But whether it's hard, tough cardio class,
Yes.
meditation, or just sitting in silence in my living room with my jazz going, that's my hour and 30 minutes that I grant myself, that I have to grant myself every day.
Yes. Thank you.
And I could vouch for that because I have seen her walk around the track many days. Illy, if you can share some of the initiatives that East Lake Foundation is currently working on.
Currently working on. So we have a lot. Actually, I'll start from what's going to happen in the next 72 hours. One of the things that we are doing is, the villages of East Lake. That is the heart. That is the soul of the community. And we're having our holiday toy drive for all of the residents who live in the villages of East Lake, for their children to come and pick out their toys. And it's been, we've had a great partnership with an organization called For the Kid in All of Us, which I had the opportunity to attend their big event on Sunday that helps donate the toys and helps bring the toys. So we're going to be dressed like cowboys. Our director of outreach engagement, Jennifer McCrary, we're going to dress like cowboys and give out toys. And so that's one of the things. And that's more of a direct impact area. I think the big picture that's happening is we're getting ready. Not a lot of people get excited about this, but I'm a nerd and I love them. We're about to get started our strategic plan. The next 5 years. What does East Lake Foundation look like? What is East Lake Foundation? I think now we're about to be 3.0, and see what is the direction we're heading, right? I think that's very important. The other is data. All of this information, all the stories you hear, all of the impact that you hear, as we continue to find funding to continue to support the work of our resident community and service program in the villages of East Lake, as we continue to help support healthy connections, as we work with Columbia Residential to make sure that housing is truly affordable to the people who want to live here. We really need to get some data and understand what is our true impact. And although it's not fun for many people, it's important to tell our story, not just anecdotally, but also in numbers, that we are thriving. We are doing well. Our children are doing well because of this connective community. The DNA of East Lake is so unique, and I've never seen anything like it. So those are some of the major, not too fun for everybody else, except for the person who has to lead the initiative, me, is to get this information. And the last piece we're working on is communication. And we talked about this in our staff meeting yesterday. Ms. Vivian was there. Is how do we connect all of our partners to do this work and message out the greatness to all the people who have moved into our community in the last 2 years who don't know the secret sauce. And so how do we have an effective communication strategy to let people know about healthy connections, right? It's open to everyone who lives here. So it's very important we get the word out internally and externally to the people we serve.
Yes.
Yeah, Joe was telling me, Joe Ambler, who's the executive director over at East Lake, was saying that you all were connecting around the strategic plan and talking about that work because the Y completed its strategic plan, its 5-year strategic plan during the pandemic. We'd love to help and assist in any way we can with that effort that you all are.
I appreciate it. And I do have an overview of your strategic plan, which also helps.
Excellent.
And Drew, so I'm collecting everyone's plan so we can have a robust plan. So yeah, that's going to be my holiday homework.
Fantastic. I have to ask Vivian and Deidre, is there anything else that you would like to share about the program or you want our listeners to know about the community and this true essential partnership that takes place?
Yes, I would definitely just like to touch on a lot of times people don't know that we're located here. And as Illy mentioned, the communication piece, just having access to broadcast everything that we do here. We're trying to figure out the best way to do that. But once we do, with the assistance of our partners, we just want everyone to know that our services are not just for members here at the Y. We do several other things where community members are able to participate in the resources that are available. And I just don't want them to feel hesitant about receiving support. I'm thinking that they would have to actually be a member of the Y to receive the things that we do, such as utility assistance or the Kaiser Bridge program. A lot of resources are open for the community. So that's the main thing that I want to put out there. Just reach out. And as we continue to work on a way to broadcast everything that we do, the most important thing I want them to know that you are welcome. Just come on in and ask, and we'll make sure we do better on our end to get everything out that we do as well.
Absolutely.
Nice.
Yeah, I also wanted to add the fact that I have seen over the years how this community have grown, because for many years we didn't have a grocery store. And now we have Publix, and we have a new grocery store that just opened up, about a month ago, who is working with us and partnering with us. And so when we talk about communication, I want to see that we have the communication that is a total community. I mean, I remember when there was no banks here and it was redlining, so we had to go elsewhere just to do our banking. So it's been a long time coming, but we are growing. And as we grow, we need to make sure we include all of those resources that surround us. Another thing that we've done here, and hopefully we will continue, is to continue to get volunteers. Because right now we have volunteers that come in and help us with our food program, the toy drive. And when you see the DeKalb County Police and the Atlanta Police here, they're not here because it's a crime. They're here to volunteer. So we want to make sure that we keep the volunteerism up. Because that's another way of getting the word out in the community. And I want to make sure that we know that this is all very important to our residents. We don't want the children to be fearful of the police. So that's why we bring them here, and we make sure that they know these are our community police officers, and they want to build relationships. And to me, the way I have been successful in my life have been those relationships that we build with the community that we have and all of the resources we have. So you don't just get it by yourself. We're not, like I think Deidre said, we're not in a bubble. We're not in a bubble. We burst out of that years ago. So we got to keep moving and keep growing. And in order to do that, we need to make sure we communicate with the total community. And so that's what I want us to really focus on, is that, we're not here by ourselves. We're not on an island. We are a village, and the village is very, very large. So hopefully that's my point that I want to get across.
That's excellent. Thank you.
Thank you. So now it's one of my favorite parts of our podcast. We would love to know how each of you got connected with the YMCA.
Well, I can tell you for many years, I wasn't like Deidre. I don't go out and work out. I watch the stories every day. That's where I get my peace and my relaxation. Rob would tell you, right, Rob?
Yep.
I watch the stories. I've been watching The Young and the Restless and The Bold and the Beauty for 20, 30 years, okay? So that's my peace. Other than
Victor Newman.
Yes.
Victor, Nikki, yes.
Victor. I remember Victor.
Yes. Yes. But I got connected many, many years ago, believe it or not. My sons are now all grown, but I can remember when we first started with the Y, my youngest son, who, by the way, is now a staff scientist, he went to the YMCA and he played soccer there. And from that point on, I've always thought the Y was a good place for young people. I still have pictures of him when he was running. This was at South DeKalb Y, running and playing, and we video him. And now he's a grown old man. And so what I do when everybody comes to the house for Christmas or Thanksgiving, I roll out everything. Look at you now, And so I've been really involved with the Y when my son was about 6 years old up until now. And now to be working and be an employee of the Y to me is one of the precious things that I could have done in my life. You know, they say life is a circle. I'm living witness that that is so true. I've gone
Absolutely.
around in that circle. And so I appreciate the Y and how I got involved to be employed. I actually was working with the Community Foundation for Greater Atlanta. And when I saw this opportunity, I was ready to jump on it, not because the Community Foundation was not a good position. It was great, but I hated the traffic and we had to go downtown to work.
Understood.
And this is like, and this is only 2 miles from my house. So that's why I was ready to come here. That's my story and I'm sticking with it.
All right, I love it.
So for me, I started off at Carver YMCA working out and volunteering around 2008-9. And like Ms. Vivian said, it's a full circle. A lot of people that I met at Carver Y I now see here working out at East Lake. So yes, that's how I started, just working out and volunteering. No videos, no old school videos like Ms. Vivian. Just
So my connection to the Y, I moved to Atlanta from Washington, D.C. 18 years ago this month. And I came with a 4-month-old. And I didn't know anyone in Atlanta. So a friend of a friend who was a member of the East Lake Family YMCA, and I know the building was almost basically brand new, told me that they had a child care center that would take your baby for 2 hours while you work out. And I used to work out like crazy in those days. So once my daughter was 6 months, I think she had to be 6 months old. So that early 2005, and I was nervous, I brought her to the Y. And Miss Keisha was working at the time. And I think Miss Keisha and Miss Gray got married at some point, which was like the talk of the town that time. But Miss Keisha would take my baby and she would watch her and it was there wasn't an early learning center yet. That was the only area. And so I lived in Southwest Atlanta where there was a Y that was closer, but they didn't take babies that young. And so I came across town 6, sometimes 7 days a week because I stayed home my first year after having my baby and I didn't know Atlanta. And the Y, it was my first family. My children learned to play soccer, t-ball, learned to swim there. They had a baby class. My husband coached some of the teams. Coach Franklin was there. Mr. Pruitt used to sit in the back office and put the blinds up a little bit, and then so you couldn't really see him. and that was my Y. So from 2005 for almost 10 years, my entire family was part. We had Santa, there was Fall Festival. I watched all of that. We participated in all of that. And so for me, when this opportunity came about this year to head the East Lake Foundation, I jumped at it because I didn't know the history of East Lake while I was a member of the Y. I had no idea what was once there. I benefited from all the hard work that Ms. Vivian and so many others that I talked about earlier did. And the community was driving. I would have never known if I didn't meet someone who worked for the East Lake Foundation 6 years ago, told me the story. And when this came up, I said, I have to jump at the chance because I have to give back to a community that gave so much to me and my family. And so this is the why I'm here. That's my connection to the Y. Why I will always do everything I can to support the Y, East Lake Family YMCA, and all the other YMCAs, because it took care of my family, and it still takes care of my family to this day.
Thank you. My goodness, we are so grateful that you had that experience. Love hearing that story, and this has been an amazing conversation. I knew it would be. I really did. I mean, and we could have expanded this group, but I think we only have so many video feeds we can do, but we could have brought in Drew. And so we'll have a part 2 for sure around talking with Sheltering Arms and talk about the early learning component. There's so many pieces to this story, and we can't thank you enough for being here.
Yes.
Thank you for listening to the Y Podcast. To continue the conversation or to find your closest Y, please connect with us at ymcaatlanta.org and sign up for our newsletter, Healthy Together.